Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Tony Nobley Jr. with Three Nail Studios. We're talking about the book of James, The Path to Spiritual Maturity. Really excited to have you. If this is your first time, awesome. Welcome. If you have not seen the first 7 episodes, please go check them out, get yourself caught up. But a quick review, we're talking about a selfless mentality that helps us to get on the path to being a spiritually mature person, a complete Christian. One of the ways that we do that in James is by having a mentality of selflessness. Now, last episode, we talked about this idea of receiving tough love, being mature enough to listen to the people in our life that are trying to tell us, or how God is trying to tell us where we need to improve. Sometimes it's hard to hear, and a lot of times it can feel aggressive or it can feel confrontative. But the important thing to know is that when you are mature, you're able to hear those things, you're able to understand how to grow. There are a lot of things in our life, and I don't know if you're like me, but I've had moments in my life where I've struggled to grow spiritually, and I feel like I'm on this plateau. And there might be some little hills and little valleys, but for the most part, I've kind of stayed the same. And it's only when people in my life spoke to me and spoke into me that I was willing to listen to, begin eliminating some things out of my life, some habits, some practices, some bad decisions I've made. It allowed me to grow. And that's part of being a spiritually mature Christian. Now, we're going to finish up chapter 4. So let's dive in and see what James has to say. Brothers and sisters, do not slander one another. Anyone who speaks against a brother or sister or judges them speaks against the law and judges it. When you judge the law, you are not keeping it, but sitting in judgment on it. There is only one lawgiver and judge, one who is able to save and destroy. But you, who are you to judge your neighbor? Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why? You not even know what's going to happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is a sin for them. This last part of chapter 4, James is really bringing out this idea that we can't wait for tomorrow to begin doing the things that God is trying to teach us now. And a spiritually mature person is aware enough of their own lack of control to be able to say, I need to do this now, to have that sense of urgency, to not wait. Now, again, there are some parts that we want to listen to, some concepts that need to take a little deeper dive in. The first one is this idea of slander. It literally means to speak evil. And we've heard slander and gossip and talking about this before. And this word encompasses all of that. It's gossip. It's talking evil about someone behind their back. It's the way that we speak about people we disagree with. See, this word, it means that we should not speak evil into other people's lives. And that's hard to do sometimes. But James says, if you want to be spiritually mature, if you want to reach that completeness, then you need to stop speaking evil. The next is this idea of a lawgiver, and this idea of someone who can be the one who gives us laws or lawmaker. It's a little bit hard for us to think about in the Western world. We have a republic, a democratic process where our elected officials make laws for us. But in a theocracy or a monarchy, only one person does that. There's only one person who decides what we can and can't do. And for James, he says, this is the reality that we need to live in as believers, as a spiritually mature person. There's only one individual who we need to understand is giving us what we should and should not do. And they're the person we need to listen to. That person is God. In addition, we have this idea of God being a judge. Not only does he give us the law, but he's also the one that decides whether or not we're sticking to it. So that's why it's so important for us to listen and to not be arrogant and say, oh, I'm going to do this when I want to. but rather to say God is speaking to us right now about whether we're following what he has or not, about whether or not we're making it on that road to spiritual maturity. And if we choose not to listen, that's only to our detriment. Finally, this idea of mist, this word, it's vaporous. And again, I will encourage you to go and check out the Ecclesiastes series that David did earlier. It's up on our channel. Check it out. He talks about this idea of mist, right? This idea that humanity is only temporary. And I have no doubt that James is making a reference to that series, that book, that concept, that idea. We're temporary. We can't control life. In fact, that idea that we can control our environment really is an illusion. We do our best with air conditioning and brakes and, safety control helmets. But the idea that we can control life isn't true. We're a mist. We're a vapor. So we need to take the time to listen to what God says. This idea of urgency is important because James seems to be repeating himself over and over again. Don't slander, be quick, actually do what God says. But it's important to notice the distinction here. It comes with the idea of temporality. Why is it important to do all these things? Why is it important to listen to God? Because we might not get tomorrow. If you've been putting something off, if God's been putting something on your heart, maybe it's creating a different habit. Maybe it's breaking up a relationship that is starting to be toxic or isn't really adding value into your life. Maybe it's putting aside some things that we've been doing or deciding to do that's been eating up our time. Whatever it is that's keeping you from moving into that spiritual maturity, that growth process, becoming that complete person, don't put it off. James tells us we're a mist, and to wait to do what we know is right is arrogant and sinful. It creates distance between us and God. He's only trying to look out for our benefit. So the question is this: are you going to wait, or are you going to start today to do what God has had for you? Thank you so much again for watching. Please continue to listen. We have our final couple episodes coming up. Take care. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We have more content that we'd love for you to watch. Also, it really helps us if you can like and leave some comments for us. It just helps us expand knowing what we want to put out next, and also lets us know where you're at and how we can connect with you. Thanks so much. We'll see you the next episode.